It's One Wellness Nerd Out time! What's up, you guys? Happy today. Happy When Wellness Nerd Out time. And today we're going to be talking about growth hormone release correlating to the amount of sleep you get. Does more sleep mean more growth hormone? And we're talking specifically about healthy young males today. We had a question about this recently, and I'm happy to address this today. We've had a whole discussion on growth hormone and how growth hormone releasing hormone is producing the arcuate nucleus of the hypothalamus, travels down the hypophyseal trunk to the adenohypophysis or the anterior pituitary gland, where somatotropes trigger the release of growth hormone from the anterior pituitary, which can then go to the liver and bind, or it can promote the production of IGF-1, yada, yada, yada. Went through the whole pathway. If you want to check that out, check out our video on growth hormone production. But we're going to kind of skip all that today and just talk about growth hormone relative to sleep. So now, generally, let's kind of talk about the average sleep cycle here first. So we fall asleep, and then within the first 10 minutes of falling asleep, we begin to get into slow wave sleep. Now, slow wave sleep will continue until about 90 minutes in, at which REM sleep will begin. And then we get this short arousal period, and then the cycle ends and we start another cycle, okay? Making each sleep cycle on average 90 to 110 minutes. We go through 4 to 6 per night on average, giving us at an average of 100 minutes per sleep cycle, 6.66 to 10 hours of sleep per night, which I guess where that 8-hour average comes from, right, that we want to be getting. I think we should all be getting 8 hours at least, but, another topic. So during the slow wave sleep, the initial cycle of sleep, right, our first sleep cycle, that first time we get into slow wave sleep, beginning within 10 minutes after we first fall asleep, up until REM sleep beginning at 90 minutes, is when we release 50% on average of our daily total amount of growth hormone that we release. A whopping 50% occurs right there in that about 80-minute range or so, give or take. Right? So there was and it depends how much growth hormone you release during that period, how long the slow wave sleep period is. With a longer SLW, I'll just call it slow wave, or SWS, we'll say, slow wave sleep, with a longer SWS period correlating to greater, higher levels of growth hormone release. All right? So the study that I was looking at today from Wiley Library online, it examined 11 healthy young male subjects ranging from ages 25 to 33 that worked a permanent night job, so lived nocturnally in essence, for 4 to 5 consecutive nights per week. They have had this job for a minimum of 2 years also, so they're pretty set into that nocturnal lifestyle, and so they're good subjects here to judge growth hormone release during their sleeping periods during the day. Okay, because we want to see if there's a difference in growth hormone release if you work all day and you sleep at night, releasing it in those typical times at night, which in general healthy subjects, melatonin surge will occur at 9:53 p.m. about is when it starts with the average person, and at 11:36 p.m. is on average when we get into that first cycle of slow wave sleep and begin to release that major pulse of growth hormone throughout the night and day, really, because again 50%, and they judged another average on a group of healthy young male subjects. It was 53% of their growth hormone was released during this initial slow wave sleep period, SLW, right? So with the subjects that were nocturnal, right, working all night, sleeping during the day, well, out of these 11 subjects, actually 3 of them had a 45%, a 48%, and an 82% release of their total growth hormone levels for the day in that initial pulse during the slow wave sleep period. Okay, so 3 of them were pretty similar in their release of growth hormone during this first SLS period, SWS, sorry, I keep messing up the abbreviation, as people that work all day and sleep at night. However, 8 of those 11 subjects, so the vast majority here, they only release 3.2 to 22.3% of their daily growth hormone release, their total daily growth hormone, in that initial slow wave sleep period during the day when they would sleep. And they slept 8 hours, and so did the daily active subjects. So there's no difference there. But very, very fascinating. Some of them produce only 3.2%, at least one of them. And most of them, again, 8 of the subjects capped out at 22.3% of growth hormone release during that time. So really, do we release the most growth hormone impulses during that first period of short wave sleep, slow wave sleep, or does our body adapt and release it during the day if we don't get enough sleep, and if we can't release it then, or we work at night or whatnot? Well, that is indeed the case. No surprise, the body's extremely adaptive, and these subjects that worked throughout the night and didn't release a lot of growth hormone during that slow wave sleep period released a lot during the day in random pulses and spurts throughout the day while they were awake. So it ended up being, in a 24-hour period, the release of growth hormone was equal in these day active subjects and these nighttime active subjects. So really, you can have about any sleep schedule you want, and your body, it seems like over time, at least, as they've been doing this for 2 years at a minimum, this nocturnal sleep schedule, you will release growth hormone at some point. So what are the general triggers for growth hormone, and how can we release more? Well, as we talked about previously in our growth hormone video, high amounts of amino acids, low amounts of fatty acids, low amounts of sugar or blood glucose in the blood, and healthy stressors such as exercise or intermittent fasting. And it should be said the number one being exercise, right, are all 5 triggers there for the release of growth hormone. So again, high amino acids in the blood, low fats in the blood, low sugar in the blood, healthy stressors, and healthy, keyword there, and exercise being numero uno for promoting the release of growth hormone naturally. Now, if you're somebody that works all day and you sleep at night and you're wondering, well, what if I were to take a nap? Would that help me to release more growth hormone if I took a nap later in the day? Great question. I had that question this morning, and I guess really we're not absolutely sure, right? But based on the research, but one thing I have a hunch about, I think makes a lot of sense, is that if you're somebody that goes through your everyday routine as a daily active subject, meaning you go through normal days, you work all day and you sleep at night. Well, if you were to take a nap, if generally we release, being those people, me being one of them, having a normal schedule, awake during the day, sleeping at night, if we release around 50% of our growth hormone on average during that first slow wave sleep period within the first 90 minutes of sleeping, well, then if you took a nap and you got into slow wave within that first 10 minutes after the light sleep period in the very beginning, well, if you took a nap for, say, 80 minutes or so, you may release a nice pulse of growth hormone there. Your body is naturally adapted to doing that. And if you're used to, again, sleeping at night, well, then maybe that nap would also bode well for releasing more growth hormone. So, number one, listen to your body overall. If you're tired, go take a nap, right? But, and if you can't, you can't. But you can release growth hormone by exercising, like we said, and we said all the other triggers there before you. Healthy diet, right? I think healthy stressors. But interesting food for thought, you guys. So maybe growth hormone release, we can say as a conclusion, does not depend on the time at which we go to sleep, maybe the exact amount of sleep. But, it certainly has those triggers that we mentioned, those 5 triggers. And if you're somebody that has a normal schedule, well, it would bode well, probably would a nap for increasing growth hormone as well, right? Especially if it's taken later in the day. And that's, at least what one study said that I was reading. But, pretty neat stuff, I think, you guys. Who do we got? Paulo, how you doing? And James Dodone, what's up, brother? How you doing, man? When I'm not sick anymore, we're going to hang out. Thanks for hopping on. So you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you very much. I hope that helped, brother, with your question on growth hormone. I hope we cleared that up there. And, we're always learning out here, and it's my absolute pleasure to be hanging out and learning with you guys every day and sharing this cool knowledge and stuff that I've been learning. So thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Really am. And we'll see you then, guys. Have a great day. Thank you.